Emily Thompson was an ordinary young woman living in a quiet suburban neighborhood. Her life had always been uneventful until a new neighbor moved in next door. Emily had caught glimpses of her neighbor, a woman named Sarah, through the fence that separated their yards. They exchanged polite waves and smiles, but they hadn't had a chance to properly introduce themselves. One sunny afternoon, Emily decided to pay Sarah a visit. She walked up to the front door and rang the bell, but there was no answer. Perplexed, she knocked on the door a few times, growing increasingly concerned. Still, there was no response. In fact, Emily had tried visiting Sarah for the past few days, but no one ever answered the door. Emily peered through the windows, but everything appeared normal. The house was tidy, as if someone had recently cleaned it. Growing more curious and worried, Emily decided to ask the other neighbors if they had seen Sarah. She knocked on the door of the house across the street, where an elderly couple named Mr. and Mrs. Johnson lived. They were friendly and had lived in the neighborhood for years. Mrs. Johnson answered the door with a smile. "Hello, Emily, how can I help you?" "Hi, Mrs. Johnson," Emily said, returning the smile. "Have you seen Sarah, the woman who moved in next door? I've been trying to get in touch with her, but there's been no answer." Mrs. Johnson's expression changed to one of concern. "Oh dear, you haven't heard?" "Heard what?" Emily asked, her heart racing. "Sarah vanished a few days ago," Mrs. Johnson whispered. "No one knows where she went. It's quite strange, really." Emily's mind raced with thoughts of what could have happened to her new neighbor. She thanked Mrs. Johnson and left, curious and determined to uncover the truth. Emily began her investigation by talking to the other neighbors. Some knew Sarah better than others, but couldn't provide any helpful information. They all expressed worry and confusion over her sudden disappearance. Undeterred, Emily decided to dig deeper. She reached out to the local police department to report Sarah missing. The officers assured her they would look into it, but warned that without any evidence of foul play, there was little they could do at that point. Emily couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. She spent hours online researching missing person cases, trying to find any leads. One night, while scrolling through social media, she stumbled upon an old news article from a few years ago. The headline read, "Local woman's mysterious disappearance remains unsolved." Curiosity piqued. Emily clicked on the article and discovered that the woman mentioned in the headline had lived in the same house Sarah now occupied. The woman's disappearance had never been solved, and it sent chills down Emily's spine. She delved deeper into the history of the house and stumbled upon a forum where people discussed the peculiar occurrences surrounding it. There were stories of strange noises, flickering lights, and unexplained events. Some claimed the house was haunted, while others dismissed it as mere superstition. Emily decided to visit the local library to dig into the house's past. She spent hours poring over old newspapers, searching for any mention of Sarah's house. Finally, she came across an article from decades ago. The headline read, "Local couple arrested in connection to disappearances." According to the article, a couple had lived in the house and had been suspected of being involved in several disappearances. However, due to lack of evidence, they were never convicted. The couple had vanished themselves shortly after the investigation began, leaving behind a trail of unanswered questions. Armed with this new information, Emily felt a mixture of fear and determination. She couldn't let Sarah become another victim. She began meticulously going through the house, searching for any clues that could lead her to the truth. One day, while exploring the attic, Emily discovered a hidden compartment beneath the floorboards. Inside, she found a stack of old journals. As she started reading them, the shocking truth began to unfold. The journals belonged to the couple who had lived in the house years ago. They were filled with chilling accounts of their twisted desires and sinister actions. Emily realized that the couple had not only been responsible for the disappearances, but had also meticulously planned and executed them. As she continued reading, Emily discovered a final entry written by the woman, confessing her guilt and revealing the fate of her victims. It was a horrifying revelation that sent shivers down her spine. Determined to bring justice to Sarah and the other victims, Emily compiled all the evidence she had gathered and contacted the police again. This time, armed with the dark secrets she had uncovered, the authorities took her seriously. Investigations were launched, and the police discovered the remains of the missing victims buried in the backyard. The couple's dark history was finally exposed, and the community was left shocked and appalled. In the aftermath, the house was deemed a crime scene, and Emily couldn't bring herself to stay in her own home. The horror of what had transpired next door haunted her, and she decided to move away, leaving behind the memories of the vanishing neighbor. As Emily settled into her new life, the shadows of the past slowly receded. The community began to heal, and the house, once a symbol of darkness, was eventually sold and renovated. Yet Emily would always carry the weight of the secret she had uncovered. The vanishing neighbor had been more than just a mystery. It had been a reminder that darkness could lurk in the most ordinary of places, and that appearances could deceive. And as Emily looked out of her new window, she couldn't help but wonder what secrets lay hidden in the houses of her new neighbors, waiting to be uncovered. The vanishing neighbor had opened her eyes to a world she had never imagined, a world of secrets and deception, a world that she knew she could never truly escape. But armed with the knowledge she had gained, Emily vowed to remain vigilant, to be the guardian against the darkness that could potentially lurk in the homes of those around her. And as she carried on, she hoped that her actions would help prevent future tragedies, ensuring that no more neighbors would vanish without a trace.